Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something up front. The battle you're fighting is not against the world. It's against your own limitations, your own doubt, your own procrastination. And until you win that battle, you're not ready to win in the marketplace, in your relationships, or in life. You see, most people lose before they even start, not because they're not capable, but because they're distracted. Focus has become a rare commodity in a world chasing everything but excellence. But here's the truth. If you're focused on everything, you're focused on nothing. You can't dominate in business, relationships, or life until you first master you. That's the truth most people ignore in pursuit of results. They chase external outcomes, money, recognition, influence, without doing the internal work that sustains it all. The real battlefield is inside. It's not about the market. It's not about your competitors. It's about the thoughts you think when nobody's watching. It's about the decisions you make when pressure is high and visibility is low. It's about the habits you cultivate, the mindset you develop, and the spirit you strengthen in private. That's where the true game is won. Think about it. How can you lead others if you can't lead yourself? How can you build a business if you can't build discipline? How can you attract quality relationships if you haven't developed quality character? You are the foundation of every structure you try to build in your life. And if that foundation is cracked, if it's built on fear, on insecurity, on inconsistency, everything you build on top of it will eventually crumble. We live in a world where people want the reward without the refinement. They want the platform without the process. But if you skip the self-mastery, you're not skipping the pain, you're just postponing it. And when it catches up to you, it usually comes with interest. That's why mastering you is not optional, it's essential. You are your first business, your first brand, your first responsibility. And until you learn to govern that well, anything else you try to govern will be unstable. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about integrity. It's about making sure your actions align with your values, that your habits align with your goals, and that your daily life aligns with the vision you say you believe in. You can't say you want to be a leader, but avoid accountability. You can't say you want to be wealthy, but spend like you're broke in mindset. You can't say you want to be healthy, but dishonor your body daily. That contradiction is what keeps most people stuck. Not a lack of opportunity, but a lack of internal alignment. There's a reason why some people seem to rise effortlessly while others grind for years without progress. The difference isn't always talent or luck. Often, it's internal structure. When you're aligned within yourself, when your thoughts, actions, and beliefs move in the same direction, you move faster. You move clearer. You become magnetic to opportunities because you're operating from clarity instead of chaos. Most people are not outworked. They're outfocused. They're too scattered internally to produce meaningful outcomes externally. When you master yourself, your emotions don't run the show, your mission does. Your fear doesn't dictate your decisions, your principles do. You no longer live by impulse, you live by intention. And that kind of personal government creates a kind of quiet power that others can sense. You walk differently. You speak with more authority. You command rooms not with noise, but with presence. Because when you've done the work on you, you don't have to prove yourself. You embody it. Mastering yourself also means managing your mind. Your mind is a multiplier. It will multiply your focus or your fear, your discipline or your distraction. So the thoughts you allow to take root will eventually bear fruit, good or bad. That's why you must guard your inner world with more intensity than you guard your bank account. Because your mind will bankrupt you faster than your finances ever will if you don't steward it correctly. And it's not just about emotional mastery or mindset. It's about spiritual alignment too. You've got to understand that you are not just flesh and bone. You are purpose and potential wrapped in human form. That means your decisions must not only serve your goals, but also your calling. When you master you, you don't just make money, you make meaning. You don't just achieve, you align. You move from survival to significance. And that begins with one simple decision. to take full ownership of who you are and who you're becoming. Distraction is the enemy of acceleration. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or potential. They fail because they're pulled in too many directions. Every time you allow your focus to shift toward what someone else is doing, achieving, or saying, you surrender a piece of your own progress. Your energy is finite. Your time is non-refundable. So the more you dilute your attention, the slower your growth becomes. In a world full of noise, the ones who win are the ones who learn how to silence it. Every second you spend scrolling through someone else's success is a second you could have invested in building your own. Every time you compare your process to someone else's product, you rob yourself of the clarity required to move forward. Distraction doesn't always look like failure. It often disguises itself as research, as networking, as staying informed. But if what you're consuming isn't producing clarity, confidence, or action, it's probably just another form of procrastination. Focus is a discipline, not a feeling. It's a decision you make repeatedly to stay locked into your lane, regardless of who's winning in theirs. You've got to understand that velocity in life is not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things with precision. That's where acceleration comes from. It's not hustle that creates exponential results. It's alignment. It's having the courage to ignore the pressure to perform for the world and instead prepare in private. It's saying no to good things so you can say yes to the best things. And most importantly, it's understanding that your pace is not slow just because it doesn't match someone else's. Your pace is right when it's intentional and sustainable. The people who achieve uncommon success are not necessarily more talented. They're just more focused. They make fewer decisions, but with more intention. They don't chase every opportunity. They wait on the ones that align. They don't get swayed by public opinion because their internal compass is set. And that kind of focus isn't natural. It's developed. It's built by deciding every day what's worth your energy and what's not. And often the most powerful thing you can do is to ignore things that look urgent but aren't important. Distraction often comes dressed as obligation. People will expect your time. They'll demand your attention. They'll pull on you with their emergencies, their expectations, their agendas. And if you're not grounded in your own priorities, you'll end up living someone else's plan. Acceleration requires boundaries. It requires you to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. When you're building something worthwhile, you can't afford to be available to everything and everyone. Every yes has a cost, and you pay for it with your progress. Even your own mind can be a distraction if it's not managed. Overthinking is a subtle form of resistance. It's a way your mind convinces you to stay in motion without movement. You get stuck in planning, in analyzing, in perfecting. Meanwhile, your opportunity window is shrinking. Focus says, decide, act, adjust. Distraction says, pause, second guess, delay. And the longer you stay distracted, the harder it becomes to regain momentum. That's why the greatest threat to your growth isn't always external, it's internal fragmentation. It's trying to do too much, please too many, and prove too often. Acceleration happens when you simplify, when you remove the excess and focus only on the essential, when you stop chasing validation and start chasing vision, when you stop managing other people's opinions and start managing your own actions. That's when things start to move. That's when time expands, energy increases, clarity sharpens, because when your focus is undivided, your results become undeniable. Distraction will always offer you something now, but focus delivers what lasts. You have to choose which one you're committed to, not once, but every single day. And the decision to focus is rarely comfortable. It often looks like solitude, like saying no to popular paths, like being misunderstood by the crowd. Your inner work determines your outer worth. The world will always reflect back to you the level of clarity, discipline, and belief you carry within. Most people spend their lives trying to upgrade their surroundings without ever upgrading themselves. They buy courses, they switch jobs, they relocate, they rebrand, but they never transform. And transformation doesn't happen outside in, it happens inside out. Until your internal reality shifts, no external result will ever be sustainable. You can't attract what you haven't become. You can't maintain what you didn't first master on the inside. People want to know how to make more money, how to build wealth, how to become successful. But wealth is attracted to character, to clarity, to confidence, not arrogance, authentic confidence. The kind that comes from knowing who you are, what you're here to do, and being willing to show up as that person every single day. Inner work is not optional if you want lasting impact. It's the foundation that holds your influence in place when pressure hits. Because pressure will come. Criticism will come. Delays will come. And if you haven't done the work to develop your identity, your principles, and your perspective, you will fold under weight you were meant to carry. This is why mindset is not just a buzzword. It's the engine behind every result you'll ever produce. A poor mindset will sabotage a powerful opportunity. A wounded identity will corrupt a blessing. Until you see yourself differently, you'll keep showing up the same way, making the same decisions, repeating the same cycles. People don't have a strategy problem as often as they have a self-perception problem. They don't believe they're worthy, ready, capable, or called, so they shrink, they self-sabotage, they play safe, and in doing so, they limit what's possible. You have to be willing to sit with yourself and ask the hard questions. What do I believe about money, about success, about failure, about myself? Because those beliefs are running silently in the background, shaping every choice you make. You can't outperform your belief system. You can't build higher than your level of self-trust. So if your inner story says I'm not enough, your life will organize itself around proving that story right, even if you don't realize it's happening. Inner work is about rewriting those stories. They lean into the work voluntarily. They invest in therapy, mentorship, reflection, prayer, personal development. They know that every next level of success will require a deeper version of themselves. It's not about pretending you've got it all figured out. It's about being courageous enough to look at what's broken and doing something about it. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is stagnation. The difference is only one of them will pay you back. When you do the inner work, you become unshakable, not because life stops being hard, but because you've built internal stability. You don't chase approval because you've already accepted yourself. You don't fear rejection because you know rejection is redirection. You don't fold under failure because you've reframed failure as feedback. That mindset makes you dangerous to mediocrity. It separates you from the crowd, not because you're better than anyone, but because you're more anchored than most. And when you're anchored, you don't move every time the wind blows. This is why some people can handle abundance while others collapse under it. Their outer world caught up to them, but their inner world never did the work to hold it. That's why success without inner work turns into self-destruction. It's not about what you get, it's about who you become. Your habits, your thoughts, your boundaries, your beliefs, all of those invisible things become the architecture of your visible results. You are your greatest investment. Not your business, not your brand, not your portfolio. You. The most important asset you'll ever manage is yourself. The world teaches people to invest in stocks, real estate, crypto, and marketing. And while those things matter, None of them will outperform the return you get from investing in your own development. When you grow, everything around you grows. When you sharpen your mind, you sharpen your decisions. When you build your discipline, you multiply your output. When you heal your heart, you improve your relationships. The ripple effect always starts with you. Yet most people treat themselves like a liability, not an asset. They spend more on entertainment than education. They spend more time numbing than nurturing. They chase results without upgrading their capacity. You can't pour from an empty vessel. You can't lead with a distracted mind. You can't build something great on a shaky internal foundation. That's why investing in yourself isn't selfish, it's strategic. Because the more equipped you are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, the more value you bring to every space you enter. People often ask how to increase their income or their influence. The answer is almost always the same. Increase your value. And you increase your value by increasing your personal capacity. When you become more emotionally intelligent, you lead teams better. When you become more financially literate, you manage and multiply money better. When you become more spiritually grounded, you make clearer decisions under pressure. These things don't just happen. They are built, nurtured, refined. They take time, intention, and yes, investment. The time you spend reading, reflecting, planning, exercising, praying, healing, that's not a break from progress. That is the progress. There's no shortcut to greatness, no hack that replaces deep, intentional work. The world may offer quick results, but sustained success always comes down to how much you're willing to grow on the inside. Success isn't just about what you know, it's about who you become. The version of you that's struggling to break through right now is not the version that's going to lead your next level. Something about you has to grow, shift, elevate. And that growth doesn't start with someone else showing up. It starts with you showing up for yourself. You have to stop waiting for someone to discover you, approve you, validate you, or invite you. You are the gatekeeper of your next level. The question is, what are you doing with what you already have, with the time you've been given, the access you've been given, the challenges you've faced? Because all of it is seed. But seed only produces when it's cultivated. And cultivation is your responsibility. No one's coming to water the soil of your life for you. That's your job. That's your calling. That's your opportunity. When you shift your mindset from consumption to cultivation, everything changes. You stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, who can I become? You stop reacting and start designing. You stop blaming and start building. And as you do, you begin to realize that life isn't something that happens to you. It's something that responds to you, to your energy, to your clarity, to your choices. And the better you become, the better outcomes you attract. If you want uncommon results, you must adopt uncommon habits. Investing in yourself might not yield instant gratification, but it always yields compound returns. A book you read today might unlock a breakthrough a year from now. A mindset you cultivate today might save a relationship or a business decision down the line. You don't always see the harvest immediately, but the roots are growing. And the deeper the roots, the higher the reach. Most people want skyscraper success with sandbox effort. But greatness demands more. It demands a decision to treat yourself like the most valuable project you'll ever work on. Consistency beats comparison. The world we live in today makes it easy to get distracted by what everyone else is doing. You scroll through social media and see curated highlights of other people's wins. Big announcements, massive results, polished images. And in that moment, it becomes tempting to question your own pace, your own value, your own journey. But comparison is a thief. It doesn't just rob you of peace, it robs you of momentum. Every time you measure your progress against someone else's position, you lose sight of your own process. You begin to doubt the very work that's quietly setting you up for breakthrough. The truth is, what builds lasting success isn't a moment of brilliance. It's repeated effort. It's the ability to show up when no one's clapping. It's the discipline to keep doing what works even when it feels slow. Even when no one is watching. even when no one is watching. Consistency is the compound interest of greatness. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in a year of focused effort because they're too busy chasing instant gratification. They start strong, then quit when it gets uncomfortable. They try something for a week, don't see fireworks, and assume it's not working. But real growth, real mastery, real transformation, it all takes time. Every master was once a beginner. Every expert was once awkward. Every success story you admire was built on a foundation of boring, repetitive, faithful action. But if you're always watching what others are doing, you'll miss the power in your own repetitions. Consistency is what builds identity. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce that you're someone who follows through. That inner trust becomes the fuel for bigger risks, deeper work, and higher results. It's not about being perfect, it's about being persistent. It's about choosing progress over performance and process over popularity. Comparison can make you forget how far you've come. It zooms in on someone else's highlight reel and blurs out your own journey. But if you would pause long enough to reflect, you'd see that the person you are today is stronger, wiser, and more equipped than the person you were 6 months ago. That's the fruit of consistency. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. It shows up in the way you think differently, the way you handle challenges, the way you carry yourself in rooms that used to intimidate you. But none of that happens if you're always distracted by what someone else is building. You have a lane, and your job is to dominate that lane, not speed up because someone else is ahead, not switch paths because someone else looks faster. Your calling is customized. Your journey is unique. And the only competition that truly matters is who you were yesterday. If you're doing better than that version of you, you're winning. That's the scoreboard that counts. Success isn't a race, it's a rhythm. And the more consistent your rhythm, the stronger your results. Consistency also breeds credibility. People may not notice you in the beginning, but over time, they can't ignore someone who keeps showing up. While others fluctuate with trends, emotions, and public opinion, consistent people build trust. They become known not just for talent, but for reliability. And in any industry, in any relationship, in any calling, reliability multiplies value. When people can count on you, opportunities begin to find you, not because you were flashy, but because you were faithful. The mistake most people make is thinking they need to do something massive to make an impact. But the truth is, small things done daily turn into big things over time. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be consistent where you are. Consistency creates clarity, and clarity leads to mastery. Mastery attracts opportunity, and opportunity changes everything. But it all starts with a simple choice to keep showing up, to keep doing the work, to stay in your lane and give your best to what's in front of you. Winning is a decision long before it becomes a result. Most people wait to feel like a winner before they act like one. But the truth is, you have to choose to win before the scoreboard ever reflects it. You have to carry the mindset, the work ethic, the posture, and the energy of someone who's already claimed the victory, even when your environment hasn't caught up yet. That decision shows up in your attitude, your habits, your ability to get back up after failure, and your refusal to settle for anything less than your purpose. Winners don't just hope for success. They prepare for it, they expect it, and they pursue it like it's already theirs. This isn't about hype or ego, it's about identity. If you see yourself as average, you'll keep producing average results, no matter how many skills or opportunities you have. But when you start aligning your identity with greatness, your behavior begins to change. You stop wasting time, you stop making excuses, and you stop negotiating with distractions. You start guarding your focus, protecting your peace, and managing your energy. That's what winning looks like behind the scenes. It's not loud. It's not always visible. but it's deliberate, it's consistent, it's built on standards, not situations. Every day you wake up, you're making choices that either push you toward your vision or pull you away from it. And the difference between those who win and those who wish lies in those daily decisions. Winners don't wait for motivation. They move with discipline. They don't operate based on how they feel. They operate based on what they've decided. That's the edge. Because life will test you. It will throw setbacks, delays, betrayals, disappointments. And if you haven't decided in advance that you're going to win anyway, you'll start negotiating with your calling every time it gets hard. The decision to win shows up in how you handle the in-between, the time after you've started, but before you see results. That space is where most people quit. It's where doubt grows, where comparison creeps in, where distractions seem more appealing than discipline. But that's also where winners are forged. Because the people who stay locked in during the silent seasons are the ones who rise when the spotlight finally hits. They're not surprised by success, they're ready for it. They already became the person success requires before the world took notice. Winning isn't just about talent or strategy, it's about tenacity. It's about resilience. It's about how you respond when the plan doesn't work, when people don't believe, when you feel overlooked, underpaid, or underestimated. That's when your real decision shows. Anyone can feel like a winner when everything's working. But can you still show up with power, with focus, with belief, when nothing seems to be moving in your favor? That's what separates the temporary from the timeless, the flashes from the legends, the hype from the legacy. Your win is not in the future, it's in your will. It's in your commitment to execute, to grow, to evolve. It's in your ability to turn pressure into purpose and pain into power. Every setback becomes a setup when you've already made the decision to win. That decision won't make the road easy, but it will make your path clear. Because once you decide, distractions lose their power. Doubt loses its grip. You stop asking if and start focusing on when and how. You stop waiting for permission and start moving with conviction. You stop needing validation and start walking in vision. You won't always feel qualified. You won't always feel confident, but the decision to win is what builds both. You grow your confidence by taking action in the face of uncertainty. You build your qualifications by showing up when others step back. That's what real winners understand. It's not about who claps for you. It's about who you decide to become when no one's watching. It's about doing the work with excellence when the crowd is silent, knowing that the results will speak when the time is right. Because when you make the decision to win, everything else starts to fall into place around that commitment. When you choose to focus on you until you win, you step into a level of power that most people never tap into. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building foundations. You stop competing with noise and start mastering your voice. Every breakthrough begins with a decision to look inward, to do the hard, quiet work that no one applauds, but everyone eventually sees the fruit of. Winning isn't about luck, timing, or talent alone. It's about the courage to grow when it's hard, the discipline to stay consistent when it's quiet, and the belief to keep going when nothing around you says you should. If you can focus on you, your mindset, your habits, your healing, your growth, you won't just win once. You'll become the kind of person who wins for life.